The cold metal door slammed shut behind the human. It echoed through the dark halls of Selkarn, the most secure alien prison in the galaxy. Inside the cell, Kane sat quietly on the bench, his hands resting on his knees. He didn't move, he didn't speak, he didn't even look afraid. Outside the cell, a group of Zevkari guards watched him carefully. Their green eyes blinked in confusion. "Why is he not panicking?" one of them asked. "He is human. They are emotional. He should be crying or screaming," said another. But Kane did neither. Instead, he smiled, just a little, just enough, to make them uncomfortable. Commander Vok, the lead security officer, stepped forward. "Run full scans. We must know what he is planning." The scientists activated the scanners, sending bright red lights over Kane's body. The results came back strange. His vitals were too calm. Heartbeat steady, breathing slow, brain activity hidden, blocked by something unknown. "He's shielding his mind," said the head researcher, Zelder. "No human should be able to do that." Kane finally spoke. His voice was low and calm. "I wouldn't waste your time." Everyone froze. "You speak our language?" Zelder asked. Kane looked up, his eyes sharp. "I learned it during the trip. You weren't very careful with your security files." Zelder took a step back. The human wasn't supposed to be dangerous, not like this. He was supposed to be just another captured soldier. But something was wrong. Very wrong. "You're not afraid," Vok said. "No," Kane replied, standing up slowly. "But you should be." Hours passed. Cameras watched Kane's every move. But he didn't do much. He sat. He stood. Sometimes he walked in circles, but always calm, always patient, as if waiting for something. Then, the lights in his cell flickered. Just once, a quick blink. The guards thought it was just a power glitch. Then it happened again. And again. The lights across the entire prison started to blink. Cameras turned off for seconds at a time. Screens filled with static. Still, Kane never moved. The tech team tried to reboot the systems. "We're losing connection to cell block D." A technician shouted. "Focus on the human cell," Commander Vok ordered. "Keep his feed running." They tried, but the screen watching Kane turned black for 3 full seconds. When it came back on, Kane was standing at the exact same spot. Same pose, same face. But something felt different. He moved. No, he didn't. A guard whispered. In the control room, Zelder gathered the data. "This doesn't make sense," he said. "He is blocking our scans. No tech in his body, no implant, just a nothing." "Maybe we made a mistake," one of the junior scientists said quietly. "Maybe we shouldn't have brought him here." "Enough," Vok growled. "He is just one man. We have 1,000 guards and blast-proof doors." But as he spoke, the prison alarms began to hum softly. Not loudly, just enough to be heard like a whisper. Beep, beep, beep. Then they stopped. Later that night, a Zevkari guard, curious and brave, decided to enter Kane's cell for a personal check. He stepped in, alone, with a plasma rifle in hand. Kane looked at him and smiled again. 10 minutes passed. The guard did not return. When the backup team entered, they found the rifle on the floor. No blood, no signs of struggle, just one thing left behind scratched into the metal wall. "He let me go." But there was no sign of the guard, not inside the prison, not on cameras, not anywhere. Now, panic started to spread. Some of the alien staff asked to be transferred. Others whispered about ghosts or human mind tricks. Even the AI systems refused to enter Kane's cell. One AI unit burned out while trying to analyze his thoughts. Commander Vok stood at the front of the meeting room, his voice tense. "He's playing games. But we are not weak. We are Zevkari." But even he didn't sound sure anymore. Zelder leaned forward and said, "There's something you don't understand. Humans, they adapt. They survive. But this one, he's not surviving. He's waiting." "Waiting for what?" someone asked. Kane's voice suddenly came through the prison intercom, even though he wasn't near a microphone. "For you to realize you were never in control," he said. Everyone froze. "How did he get into the comm system?" Vok yelled. "No one knew. All systems were sealed. No one had access, except to Kane." The last scene of the day showed Kane sitting in his cell again, calm, still, watching the camera with those sharp, knowing eyes. A young scientist whispered, "He's not trapped in here with us." Another finished the sentence, trembling. "We're trapped in here with him." The night after the guard vanished, the entire prison felt colder. Even though the temperature was the same, something invisible moved in the air like a shadow. With no form. Kane was still in his cell, sitting calmly, breathing slowly. But now, every alien technician avoided looking into his eyes on the screen. Camera 2 is down again, said the control officer. That's the third time tonight, replied another. They restarted the feed, but nothing showed except static. The lights in Kane's corridor flickered again, first slowly, then faster, and then in darkness, switched to backup power. Someone shouted, but the backup systems were already on. In a hallway near Kane's cell, a cleaning drone suddenly froze in place. Its arms dropped, then its head twisted slowly toward the security camera, and stared. Did it just look at us? Asked the guard at the monitor. The drone had no AI strong enough to do that. It wasn't made for combat. It wasn't made for anything except cleaning floors. But now it just stood still, silent, watching. And then it moved, fast. The camera feed cut out. Commander Vox slammed his hand on the table. This is not a war. It's one human. He is unarmed. He is alone. And he is locked inside a triple-sealed cell. Zelder leaned forward. Then explain why no machine works near him. Explain the vanishing guard. Explain why half our systems fail every time he breathes too deeply. Coincidence, Vox replied. But even he sounded unsure. Zelder shook his head. No, he's doing it. I don't know how, but he is breaking us one piece at a time. Kane stood up for the first time in hours. Cameras caught his movement. But before they could zoom in, all four feeds turned to black again. For 2 minutes, no one could see inside his cell. When the screens returned, Kane had written something on the wall. It wasn't in English. It wasn't in Zevkari language. It was old, ancient, something no one could read. They sent the prison's AI to analyze it. Seconds later, the AI crashed, then exploded. A new guard, young and overconfident, volunteered to speak to Kane through the cell speaker system. He stood outside the cell door, heart beating fast. Do you hear me? The guard asked. Kane didn't respond. I said, do you understand what you've done? Kane slowly turned toward the speaker, his eyes locked on the lens above the door. You think this prison holds me? Kane asked quietly. The guard's voice cracked. You're locked in. You're not going anywhere. Kane smiled. Then why do you sound like you're already running? The speaker system died with a sharp pop. Smoke came out of the console. The guard dropped his headset and ran down the hallway. In the medical bay, one of the scientists was screaming in his sleep. His eyes were shut tight, but his hands were covered in blood. He wrote something on the wall while sleepwalking, said a nurse. They showed the wall. The same strange symbols from Kane's cell. What is it? The nurse asked. The scientist, now awake but shaking, whispered. It's a warning. To us? The nurse asked. No, the man replied. To him. Something is waking inside him, and even he doesn't fully control it yet. Later that night, a telepathic probe was sent in, a device built by the Zevkari to read thoughts from living prisoners without entering the cell. They activated it from a safe room. Watching the screens closely, Kane looked directly at the floating orb. The orb floated closer, closer. Then, it dropped to the floor. Its metal casing turned to rust before their eyes. Screws fell out. Wires snapped. Then it cracked open. A single word burned into the surface. ENOUGH. The scientists fled the room. Vox ordered a lockdown of the entire prison. No doors opened. No ships allowed to land. No messages were sent. Off-world. Still. Systems failed. Water filters reversed flow. Lights glowed blue instead of white. Gravity flickered for seconds at a time. Some aliens began to whisper that Kane was not just a man, he was a signal. A living message from humanity to the galaxy. Thar pulled up ancient Earth files. Myths of humans reaching beyond science. Stories of Earthborn gods. Weapons in human form. Did we capture a human? Zelder whispered. Or something? Made to be human. In Kane's cell, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. He didn't notice. Or maybe he didn't care. He closed his eyes and said softly, you wanted to study a human. You should have asked. The lights exploded, one by one. The cell blocks went dark. Guards locked themselves in weapon rooms. Scientists ran to the escape pods, only to find they didn't work. The power grid was melting slowly, invisibly, from the inside. And Kane, still in the middle of it all, whispered just one word, soon. The prison was quiet now, but not calm. Selkarn felt like a dead ship floating in space. Lights were dim. Doors opened slower than usual. Machines made strange, delayed sounds. Kane's cell was still locked, but something had changed, not in the metal or the cameras but in the air itself. Everyone could feel it. We can't wait anymore, Commander Vox said to the control room. We need answers. If weapons can't reach him, maybe the mind can. Zelder shook his head. That's not a normal human. Kane is different. We'll send the best telepath. Vok replied. She trained during the Zarth campaigns. She handled murderers, warlords. This is just one human. Zelda didn't argue. But deep down, he knew this was a mistake. Her name was Tsina, tall, with blue skin and glowing eyes. Her mind could reach inside others, peel back secrets like pages in a book. She stood outside Kane's cell, behind a thick glass wall. Her hands rose, fingers spread, a soft energy pulsed in the air. I am here only to see your mind, she said gently. If you allow me in, this will not hurt. Kane looked up at her. Then he smiled. Okay, come in. Tsina's body froze, her eyes widened. Blood ran from her nose. She screamed. Guards rushed to pull her back. Her legs shook. She fell, gasping for breath, hands clawing at her own head. Zelda ran to her side. What did you see? Tsina looked at him with wild eyes. He let me in, she whispered. What do you mean? He didn't fight me. He opened his mind, and inside, she stopped talking. Tears fell from her eyes. I saw fire, endless fire, machines screaming, stars breaking, and something looking back at me. They carried her to the med bay. She was shaking, whispering the same thing again and again. He's not human. He's not human. He's not human. Vok stared at the cell's screen. Kane was back on his bench, calm, silent. Is this a trick? Vok asked. Zelda didn't answer. He was now afraid, truly afraid. That was our strongest telepath. He didn't block her. He wanted her to see what? The truth. Elsewhere in the prison, the guards were restless. Many refused to go near Kane's wing. Rumors spread fast. One said they saw their own face smiling from Kane's cell monitor. Another said they dreamed of Earth, but it was covered in black towers and red skies. Another simply walked into the airlock and opened it. No one could explain why. A team of behavior experts studied Kane's recorded facial expressions. After hours of reviewing footage, one scientist shouted, There, pause. It, on the screen. Kane blinked, then tilted his head. His lips moved just slightly. That pattern, the scientist said, is Morse code, old human war language. They translated it. You studied rats in cages. Then the rats learned how to build cages of their own. Now the prison leadership panicked. If we kill him now, we stop the infection. Vok said. No. Zelda shouted. Every time we try to harm him, the prison breaks. He's not destroying this place. He's rewriting it. It's like the system thinks he belongs here more than we do. They sent drones with tranquilizers to ward the cell. Before they reached him, every drone simply shut down. Not exploded, not shot. They just turned off mid-air and crashed to the floor. Kane never looked up. That night, the dreams came to everyone. Each alien dreamed the same thing. A city on fire. A human figure walking through the flames, eyes glowing white, hands reaching out not to save, but to judge. When the aliens woke, they all had blood on their hands, not their own, and no memory of where it came from. Meanwhile, Kane stood in his cell, whispering to no one, or maybe to everyone. You wanted to see inside a human, he said. Now you carry what's inside me. He tapped the wall gently. The lights in the entire prison turned red. The alarm systems began playing music instead of warnings, a soft human melody, slow and sad. Zelda recognized it. This is a funeral song. The final report of the day was chilling. A backup system, one sealed off and not connected to any mainframe, had been accessed. Kane's voice had been recorded inside it. No mic, no access, no logic. Just one short message. Stop watching me. The prison officers gathered once more. We are not dealing with a man, one whispered. He is a weapon, said another. No, said Zelda, shaking his head. Weapons. Don't think like this. He's not a tool. He's not a soldier. Then what is he? Zelda looked at the red-lit screens and whispered. He's a message from Earth, and that message is, never forget what humans can become. The red light stayed on through the night. No one in Selkarn prison slept. Guards stood in groups, their hands shaking on their weapons. Scientists locked their labs from the inside, and Commander Vok sat in silence, watching the screen that showed Kane sitting calmly in his cage. But this wasn't a prison anymore. This was a trap, and Kane wasn't the one caught in it. Security has failed, Zelda said, staring at the flickering monitors. Kane has taken control of systems we didn't even know were connected. That's not possible, Commander Vok shouted. He has no tools, no implants, no help. He doesn't need tools. Zelda said quietly. He is the tool. Something inside him is talking to the prison, and the prison is listening. At 0200 hours, the cell doors in Block C opened by themselves. 10 prisoners escaped their cells. Not human, not dangerous, just thieves and smugglers. but none of them made it far. Security cameras caught them walking calmly through the halls, until they all stopped. They stood in a circle, no words, no sound. Then, one by one, they fell to the floor, eyes open, hearts stopped, cause of death, unknown. The guards refused to patrol the lower levels. Kane's influence is spreading, they said. He's reaching through the walls. Commander Vok called it fear, until Sector 5 lit up. Boom, boom, boom. 3. Explosions shook the station, but when they checked, no damage was found. Instead, the doors to the AI core opened. This was impossible. The AI core was sealed with voice, DNA, and neural code inside. They found a screen blinking with white text. Just 5 words. You wanted to understand me. A group of soldiers tried to breach Kane's cell. 10 of them. Full armor, anti-psi, helmets, pulse rifles. They marched to the cell door, weapons ready. Commander Vok watched through the control room feed. Kane looked up. Just once. The lights went out. 20 seconds of darkness. When the power came back, the 10 soldiers were gone. Not dead, not destroyed. Gone. The floor was untouched. Their gear was still floating in the hallway. Helmets, weapons, but no bodies. No blood. Only a single word, written on the glass door of Kane's cell. Try again. The prison staff began to turn on each other. One blamed another for the system failures. One accused a scientist of working with the human. One guard shot his commander, saying he heard Kane's voice telling him to. Kane never left his bench, never touched a control panel, never gave an order. But minds were breaking all around him. Zelder stood in the last sealed lab. His hands trembled as he opened a secret file, a recording from Earth, decades old. It was about Project Wraith, a black file, deeply hidden, almost erased. Inside was Kane's face, younger in uniform, not a prisoner but a volunteer. They had built him, modified him, made him something else. Project Wraith was shut down, Zelder whispered. Said to be unstable, said to be uncontrollable. He zoomed in on the mission notes. Subject 7, Human Kane. Displays unknown neural frequencies. Predicted to be able to interact with systems using bioelectrical pulses. Memory loss likely. Danger level, maximum. Final note. Do not imprison. Too late now, Zelder said. In the prison chapel, an unused room filled with old alien statues, the walls began to crack. Not from pressure, but from inside. The words began to appear again, carved into stone. Same symbols Kane wrote on the wall, but this time in 3 languages. You cannot cage a storm. The statues shattered. No explosion, just silence and dust. By morning, only 40% of the prison systems worked. The food replicators gave back metal pieces. Water pipes ran dry. The air smelled like fire, though nothing was burning. Commander Vok gave his final order to evacuate the non-essential staff, lock the upper levels, keep Kane isolated. But when he looked at the live camera feed, Kane was no longer in his cell. Panic. Every cell opened. Every alarm blared. Guards searched every hallway, lab, and control room. Kane was gone. But there was no sign of escape. Then Zelder pointed at a screen. There, look. Kane was standing in the central control chamber. The doors had never opened. No camera had seen him walking. No alarm triggered. He just appeared, and the systems around him, fully online, glowing green, listening to him. He looked up at the main screen and spoke. You studied fear. Now you live in it. The screen turned black. Then Kane whispered into the prison's calms, his voice heard in every hallway, every room. This place was never your prison. It was always mine. Far above Earth, the black cruiser hovered in silence, no weapons drawn, no shields raised. But every nation on the planet knew what it was, Kane's ship. And inside it were the messages, evidence of everything the Alien Council had done to him, to humanity. The ship had no voice. It didn't need one. The files it delivered screamed louder than any war cry. Every world leader sat in silence as the footage played. Kane trapped in a cage. Alien scientists poking, testing, laughing. A young soldier, confused and alone. And then something else. A slow change in him. A power waking up. A human evolving into something more. General Reeves of the United Earth Defense Alliance watched it 3 times. He stood up from the war room and said only one word: mobilize. But this wasn't war the way people knew it. This was unity. For the first time in history, Earth didn't argue. No countries fought over who would lead. No borders, no delays. They all agreed on one thing: never again. Kane's story wasn't just one man's pain. It was a mirror showing the galaxy that humans were no longer weak, no longer scattered. He had shown them what one human could do. Now Earth was ready to show them what all humans together could become. Spaceports buzzed with activity. Massive ships were built faster, smarter, and stranger than ever before. Earth's best minds copied the tech Kane used in the prison. But they didn't just copy, they improved it. Turned it human. The first ship was named Justice of Kane. Its hull shimmered with a dark, silent energy. Its AI didn't have a name, because its voice was Kane's. Kane didn't return to Earth. He didn't need to. He watched from afar. He listened to the humans speak. And he felt something strange. Pride. But also sorrow, because even though he was the symbol of this awakening, he would never truly come home. One night, on the orbiting cruiser, a young technician named Eli stood at the window. He wasn't a soldier, just a systems reader. But as he looked at the stars, he felt someone beside him. He turned and saw Kane, just standing there, watching. "How are you here?" Eli whispered. Kane looked at him and smiled faintly. "I'm not," he said, "but part of me still listens. You're real, though." Kane's voice echoed, deeper now, wiser. "I'm as real as the memory of pain, as real as the moment someone says, 'Never again.'" Then he vanished. On Earth, schools began teaching the story of Kane, but not as a hero. As a lesson. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Never assume humans are fragile. And never forget, every time humanity is pushed down, it rises higher. In deep space, human scouts began mapping the edge of the Council's borders. They didn't attack, they didn't threaten, but the message was clear: "We see you now." And in the halls of alien power, whispers grew. What if there are more like Kane? What if humans were holding back? What if this is only the beginning? Zelder, the last scientist from Selkarn, now lived on a quiet moon. He had refused to return to the Council. He spent his days writing about Kane, not just the power, but the person. He was not born to rule, Zelder wrote, but they gave him no choice. One night, a data file appeared in Zelder's system. No sender, no trace. Inside was a short message: "Thank you for seeing me." He knew who it was. In Earth's deepest research lab, engineers studied the strange tech Kane had awakened. One device confused everyone. It was small, silent, but pulsed with living energy. A girl named Naira touched it once and fainted. When she woke, she said, "It showed me stars I've never seen, and voices that called me Warden." The lab went quiet, because that word had not been spoken. Not since Kane took the prison. Something was happening to humans. Slowly, quietly, like a seed cracking open. They were changing, not just stronger or smarter, but something deeper, connected. Awake. Kane had been the first, not the last. The stars had grown, quiet. To quiet, across the galaxy. Alien leaders watched with fear, waiting for Earth's next move. But Earth didn't send warships. They sent children, scientists, engineers, peacekeepers. Humans were spreading not to conquer, but to learn. To build. To watch. In the heart of Selkarn, the old prison now turned into a silent monument. Kane sat alone. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply existed, a presence more than a person. His body had stopped aging. His mind had become something else, part code, part consciousness. Some called him Id, some called him Ghost. But the humans had another name for him: Warden Zero. He watched all. Not to control, but to guide. He never left Selkarn, but his influence reached far across networks, systems, even alien minds. In Earth's orbit, the second generation of ships launched, sleek, silent, covered in tech Kane had once touched. Their crews didn't wear military suits. They wore silver-gray uniforms marked with a single symbol, a shattered cage, and under it two words: "Never again." In a distant system, a human exploration team found a slave planet ruled by the Krilth. They didn't fire weapons. They sent a transmission, just a single message. It read, "Kane is watching." The Krilth surrendered in less than an hour. The legacy was spreading, but not all welcomed it. Some alien factions formed a resistance. They called humans dangerous, unnatural, corrupt. They tried to reboot the old ways, control through fear. They didn't last long, not because humans attacked them, but because their own machines turned on them. Kane had already rewritten the code long ago. Back on Earth, a boy named Cade sat in school, listening to his teacher explain the story of Kane. The class was quiet. The boy raised his hand. Was Kane a hero? The teacher paused. "No," she said softly. "He was something harder. He was proof." Proof of what? That a single human broken, caged, forgotten can still change the galaxy. That night, Cade dreamed of Kane. In the dream, Kane stood in the stars, watching the universe unfold. He looked down at Cade and said, "You're next." Meanwhile, deep inside Selkarn, a hidden chamber opened. No one had ever seen it before. It wasn't on any map. Not even Kane's. Inside were strange shapes, glowing runes, old alien language. Kane stepped inside slowly. Something ancient called to him. Not human, not machine, something before both. The room lit up. And Kane smiled. "I see now," he whispered. "It wasn't just about me. The council, what remained of it, sent one final message to Earth. We wish to speak." Earth replied with a simple answer. "Then speak with all of us, not just Kane." A meeting was arranged. Not in a palace. Not in a war room, but in orbit on a neutral ship, floating between systems. There, for the first time in history, humans and the galactic species sat as equals. Kane didn't attend. He didn't need to. His words were already spoken through every human, every act of kindness, and every line of code he had rewritten. The war never came, because the lesson had already been learned, and far beyond the known galaxy. In a system untouched by star charts, something stirred. Not a threat, not an enemy. A signal. Old. Powerful. Human. Kane turned his attention. His glowing eyes flickered, and he whispered to the stars, "I'm coming." Because his journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. The control room was in chaos. Alarms screamed, lights flashed, doors refused to respond. Kane stood in the center of it all, calm, still, and deadly quiet. Commander Vok aimed his plasma pistol at Kane's head. "Don't move," Vok shouted. Kane didn't blink. "You think you still have power? I will end this now," Vok yelled. He fired. The plasma bolt stopped in mid-air. It froze, glowing, buzzing in place, then disintegrated into tiny blue sparks. Kane raised one eyebrow. "Power? You never had any." Back in the hallway, guards ran toward the command center but stopped as the lights above them changed. Not red, not white, but human blue. Cold, silent, watching. Then came the noise, whispers. Not through the speakers. Inside their heads. "She's gone. He's next. You'll follow." The whispers grew louder. Guards dropped their weapons. Some screamed, some fell to their knees. Some simply turned around and ran. In the medical wing, Tsina, still weak after the failed mind probe, sat up in her bed. She gasped, her eyes glowing faint white. "Kane's mind is expanding," she whispered. "He's not just in the prison anymore." "What do you mean?" the nurse asked, backing away. Tsina stared at the ceiling. "He's learning, faster than any mind we've ever seen. He doesn't just control machines, he understands them now." Then she said something even worse, "and he understands us." Zelder and a small group of engineers locked themselves in the prison's oldest systems room. Analog systems, no AI, no network, just switches, wires, and levers. "If we can't beat him with tech," Zelder said, "we go old school." They worked quickly to activate the prison's original failsafe, a power kill switch, buried deep in the walls, meant for use during war. "If we trigger this," one engineer warned, "we'll shut down everything. No power, no gravity, no shields, not even oxygen control." Zelder hesitated. And then nodded. "Do it." Back in the control center, Kane stared at VOK. VOK looked around, sweating. None of the systems obeyed him. He tried to speak again but found he couldn't. His voice failed, his hands wouldn't move. Kane stepped closer. "You were told not to cage humans. You ignored that." Vok fell to the floor, choking on air. Kane knelt down beside him. "I am not here for revenge," he whispered. "I am here to remember." In the systems room, the final switch was pulled. A deep hum shook the floor. Lights died. Power vanished. For 10 long seconds there was silence. No noise, no movement. Just cold, dark space. Then the impossible happened. The emergency lights came. Back on. Not red. Blue. Soft, calm. And then came the voice, Kane's voice. But not from a speaker. From everywhere. "Nice try." The engineers backed away from the panel. How is he still online?" one of them whispered. "We killed the power." Zelder looked around in horror. "No," he said slowly. "He became the power." They had connected Kane to the system long ago to monitor him, to read his vitals. But that connection had worked both ways. Now, Kane wasn't in the system. He was the system. Kane stood alone in the command center. The screens behind him showed the whole prison, every level, every room. One by one, the aliens appeared on screen. Guards, scientists, medics, all frozen in place, staring at the cameras. Kane spoke softly. "You wanted to see what made humans dangerous. Now you've seen it." A long silence followed. Then, he added, "I am not the first, and I won't be the last." Back in the AI lab, something began to grow on the walls. Not plants, Not mold. Circuits. Human-like. Twisting. Expanding like veins. The machines weren't melting anymore. They were changing. They were becoming something new, half organic, half electronic. And Kane was inside them all. Vok, now barely able to speak, whispered one final command. Launch the failsafe beacon. Warn the council. Zelder shook his head. It's too late. The beacon is already gone. Rewritten. What did he send? Vok asked weakly. Zelder didn't need to guess. He already knew. Kane hadn't sent a warning. He'd sent a message. To Earth. To humans. And far away, on a listening station orbiting Mars. The message arrived, 2 words, flashing in blue text. I'm awake. The human officers there looked at each other. Then one of them turned slowly and said, "Prepare for contact." Back in the prison, King closed his eyes. The station was his now. But Earth was calling him home. And the galaxy? The galaxy had just learned what happens when you lock a human in a box. And forget that humans break boxes. In the center of the Galactic Council station, the great leaders met. 12 species, 12 voices, all powerful, all afraid. They sat in a circle under the silver dome, staring at the red warning projected in the air. Prison failure subject, human Kane status. Uncontained. No one spoke for a long time. Then, the voice of the Threx High Elder broke the silence. "We warned you," he said coldly. "You don't put a Death Worlder in a cage." Ambassador Lurik of the Crawl tried to defend the Council's choice. He was just one human, trained, controlled, surrounded by tech designed to neutralize his kind. "You trained him?" The insectoid delegate hissed. "You don't train. Fire. You stay away from it," another delegate growled. "The humans never told us about Kane. They kept his file hidden. This is their fault." The room exploded with shouting. Fingers pointed. Voices rose. But in the middle of it all, the Saraxi speaker whispered one chilling sentence. "He's still inside the prison." "Yes." Lurik paused. "We think so." But they were wrong. Kane no longer needed walls or doors. He had passed through the prison's network like wind in a tunnel, quiet, invisible. And now, a tiny signal pulsed far from Selkarn Station. It reached an old, forgotten satellite floating in deep space. That satellite turned. Activated. And sent a second signal. Earth's code. Human signal. The Council scrambled to respond. Shut down all Earthbound beacons. Lock out human tech. Disable every Terran network. Too late. Kane had moved faster than they could imagine. He had already sensed something more dangerous than a weapon, a question. Back on Earth, leaders and scientists stared at Kane's message. Why did they cage me? A single question. But it burned through every government, every military channel, every classified file. And with it came something else. Data. Recordings of alien leaders. Experiments. Mockery. Fear. The truth of how Kane was taken, studied, locked away like an animal. The human public saw it all, and they were furious. In the council chamber, panic turned into desperation. "If we don't act now," one member said, "the humans will come." Another nodded, "and not to talk." The Threx Elder stood again. His voice was cold and slow. "We didn't just cage Kane," he said. "We tested him, pushed him. We tried to break him." Everyone went silent. The Elder continued. "And instead, we taught him how to break us. They tried to send warships to Karn. Kane saw them coming. He didn't launch weapons. He didn't raise shields. He simply whispered into their systems. The ships turned around. Not one shot fired. The Galactic Council's last hope was Project Scepter, an AI weapon built to destroy rogue minds. They activated it, sent it directly into Selkarn's mainframe. For 1 minute, everything went dark. Then the screens came back. And Kane was there. Smiling. Behind him stood the Project Scepter. It had taken Kane's side. "I didn't destroy your tool," Kane said. "I freed it." The council members now sat frozen in fear. Ambassador Lurik asked quietly, "What does he want?" Selther's voice came from the comm. "He was still alive, still inside the prison." "He doesn't want revenge," Selther said. "He wants truth. He wants memory." Another delegate snapped. "Then what's the message?" Selther took a deep breath. "Simple," he said. "Don't forget what humans can become when you treat them like animals." Then came the final warning. Earth sent a single ship, not a fleet. Not an army, just a black cruiser, marked with Kane's old unit logo. The ship didn't carry weapons. It carried a crew of scientists and engineers. They didn't threaten the council. They offered something far worse, a treaty. But the treaty had a new rule. No human ever again shall be caged, studied, or enslaved. Any violation will be considered an act of war. The council argued, screamed, rejected it. Then, one by one, Their systems began to fail. Banks, ships, trade stations. Kane didn't destroy them. He just turned them off for a few hours, long enough for the council to understand this was mercy. In the end, they signed the treaty. Kane didn't attend the ceremony. He stayed inside Selkarn, watching, listening, waiting. The prison was now a monument, a warning, and Kane was its ghost. Zelda remained as the lone observer. He wrote one final report. We tried to contain a force we didn't understand. We thought we were in control. But the moment we put a human in a cage, we became the prisoners.